Right now, the technology for self-driving cars exists. Let's just think about that for a moment. Self-driving cars. Cars that drive themselves. Look, there's one there, doing it right now, and avoiding those people too. You'll soon be able to hop in, tell your car where you want to go, sit back and wait to arrive. You could finish a party in London and travel home to Paris overnight, asleep the whole way. That sounds amazing. Well, unless you're a taxi driver. If they don't like Uber, they're definitely not going to like the driverless Uberbot 5000. And it isn't just taxi drivers who might worry. It seems pretty likely that soon we'll have robot surgeons locating and cutting out tumours with pinpoint accuracy, robot chefs cooking up meals just the way we like, robot athletes who are better than any human opponent. Lucky for us musicians, of course, we don't have to worry about any of this. We are uniquely creative individuals that could never be replaced by machines, right? Actually, there's a company in London called Duke who are working on a robot composer right now. Visit their website, tell it what kind of music you'd like, how long you want it to last, and minutes later your piece of music is ready to download. In fact, the music you've been listening to in the background of this video was generated by Duke. Most of the time, we think of computers basically as trumped up calculators. So how could they be made to do something as human as composing a piece of music that sounds more or less okay? When it comes down to it, composition is just a load of decisions, choosing where to place this sound or that sound in time to create an experience for the listener. Even before computers came along, composers experimented with handing over some of the decisions in their compositions to somebody or something else, either to performers, to choose at random each performance, or by generating choices at random through tossing a coin or rolling dice. We call music that makes use of some kind of random chance element aleatoric music, and even Mozart wrote some pieces this way. Imagine you were writing a pop song, but instead of choosing the chords for the song yourself, you pick them at random. There are 6 basic chords that get used very often when writing pop songs. We even call them chords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. One very simple composing system would be to write these 6 numbers on pieces of paper, shuffling them up and choosing them at random to generate our chord scheme. You might be really lucky and pick 1, 5, 6, 4, which would work really well. You've chosen one of the most common chord schemes in pop music, which belongs to a whole load of popular songs. But just as easily, you could pick 6, 3, 3, 2. This isn't so great. You might struggle with these choices to write anything good. You could easily make a computer program to generate these numbers, but as it turns out, random numbers by themselves often aren't a great system for composing. You might create good music occasionally, but not that often. That's because music isn't random. It's evolved over time with a kind of grammar, things that work well and things that don't. A good composer is basically just somebody who has a sense for what works in music and what doesn't. They use their experience to create something that they think we'll like. If we're going to try and model a human composer with a robot composer, somehow the robot would need an understanding of which combinations of chords tend to lead to the best musical outcomes. It turns out we live at a time where there's no shortage of data, and we can use this to improve our composing systems so they generate good choices far more often than bad ones. Hook Theory is a website that has analysed thousands of pop songs to see which chord choices are most common. You can use Hook Theory to see the likelihood of any given chord coming next in a sequence. This drastically reduces the chances of picking a dud set of chords, because we're not choosing at random anymore, we're drawing on the collected wisdom of a load of successful composers. A computer program armed with this information would more often than not generate choices that are much, much better than picking at random, or even chords chosen by a beginner composer. Chord choices are of course only one part of a composition, but we could come up with systems, computer or otherwise, to generate the other parts of a musical composition, the melody, the texture, the tempo, everything that makes it work, and we could base these systems either on data like Hook Theory or on our own intuitions as composers. As computer technology improves, things are going to get even more interesting. With advances in artificial intelligence and machine learning, some of these systems are going to be able to learn for themselves based on feedback, which is basically the same thing that us human composers do. So with this technology in the works, what will become of human composers? Are we going to be surplus to requirements? Systems like Duke are going to get good, really, really good. The music they make will be definitely good enough for YouTube videos, for adverts and training films. They might even be able to make a really convincing emotional soundtrack one day. At the same time, I think there'll be some styles of music that robots will never be able to recreate. I don't think we're going to see robot Beethoven anytime soon. These robots are going to be out there doing their thing, and us human composers should be out there doing our thing. If you're a composer writing music in the way that only you can, then you've got nothing to worry about. No robot's going to come along and take your job. Anyway, I know for a fact that JukeDeck aren't even interested in competing with human composers. What they want to do is offer something completely new. A tool that allows all of us to generate music that suits our mood, suits the weather, suits the colour of the clothes that we're wearing that day. In the past, it was only the richest people in the world who could have their own composer. Very soon we're going to have one in our pocket, and I think that's really exciting. But that's just what I think. Do let me know in the comments to this video how you feel about the idea of a robot composer. Would you listen to music that you really loved, even if you knew that there was no human involved in the creative process? Would you like your own soundtrack to be generated for your life every single day? Or do you feel like there's something really unique and special and impossible to recreate about something that's been created by a living, breathing human being?